What's up, everybody? Back in the gym with Camera Fitness. You are watching some of my explosive deadlift day as part of the Cube. This is a warm-up set, I believe. This is somewhat of a sumo style for me. I still got to work on opening my hips and getting my legs a little bit wider. But really today, what I spent time doing was just working on different aspects of form. So here's another warm-up set again, doing some sumo. When I got to my main working sets, I was supposed to do 8 sets of 3 explosively as possible. Ended up using working sets of 380 pounds, and what I did with every other set is flip-flop between doing sumo and doing conventional grip. Now the reason I'm doing this is I'm trying to figure out what works best for me in terms of pulling. I feel like I can pull more conventional, but I feel better overall in terms of keeping my butt down a little bit better on sumo style. Now this is something I'm going to continue to play with, and I think ideally going forward I'm going to continue to alternate what I do, when in the past I would just do one or the other, because what I feel like is if I get better at one, it's going to improve the other a little bit as well. And this is actually going to carry over as well to some of my squats, things I'm doing with that. I'm going to kind of alternate back and forth between high bar and low bar, as well as my foot position and my depth and all that, because again, hopefully it'll translate over to the other one. Now, as far as this pull day goes itself, here you're seeing an actual sumo pull. I've been having a lot of trouble, as I mentioned previously, or maybe you guys didn't know, I posted this over on the Cube Method Facebook page. I feel like my conventional deadlift is really broken. I don't know why, but after that powerlifting meet that I did probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, with my last actual attempt that was good at 575, which is a meet PR for me, I feel like my form is really broken down. I kind of attribute it to like a baseball player being in an actual hitting slump where, you know, their form and mechanics just break down. For some reason, I just can't get in that groove that things feel comfortable. Now, when I posted over in the Cube Method over on Facebook, a lot of people said, you know, you really need to work on your glutes, your hamstrings, and actually activating that. You want to push your hips through, because even watching myself in the past and even after watching, you know, what they said, I know that's one of my issues. I'm not sure if this is necessarily a mobility issue or what specifically, but I have a lot of trouble with conventional at times. And there's a couple of different aspects, and I think it really starts with my mechanics in the beginning. As far as where I put the bar, this tends to put me leaning forward a little bit. Even in the chances when I try to lean back and pull backwards, it just doesn't happen. I can't get that smooth motion that I'm used to, and it ends up really making my pull very, very choppy looking. And in some instances, I've tried actually moving the bar out a little bit more in front of me so I'm not leaning far forward as much. But then what I find ends up happening is my head starts going forward and down and my butt shoots up in the air. So this is definitely something that I'm going to continue to work on. Now with this, however, I understand that this isn't just a one-time fix. This is something I'm going to have to continually work on to get better at. And a lot of this is going to come from some of the accessory work that I'm doing, which you'll see in just a little bit. Continuing on with this, another thing you'll notice is, again, as in the previous video which I stated, I'll be working out predominantly without a belt, without straps, anything of that nature. And again, although this might hinder the amount of weight I'm going to be able to lift during some of these exercises, my feeling here is that by strengthening my lower back, what I'll be able to do is, again, translate this over to when I do use my belt. So after I did those 8 sets of alternating against sumo and conventional, I went back to just working on typical conventional. I'm trying a lot of different things here. Although it might look the same to you, it's really about how I set up. You'll see sometimes I get a little bit lower. I'm really trying to remember in my mind, I want to try to push my feet through the floor. I'm also trying to be cognizant of where my butt is. I'm kind of playing around with how far I bend over, also playing with trying to tighten my lats. So again, although these look very similar, they are all different. A lot of things that I've been kind of getting tips on and just trying to play around, because again, I'm trying to get that smooth motion. And you know, a big part of it probably is I'm over analyzing the shit out of this, but I just really want to get better. But maybe that's a negative in my sense, only because I'm overthinking this too much, when in reality, maybe I should just go kind of grip and rip it sometime. So here I'm kind of slowing down a little bit, again, really trying to focus on, all right, keep my butt back, keep my back straight, and pull. And that one looks all right. And again, doing suboptimal loads, it's not so bad, but when I start really increasing the weight, that's when I start seeing a lot more of these issues. So again, after I did those 8 initial sets that were done for speed, Instead, what I went to is, again, this conventional style, and I believe I did an additional 6 sets of 3 reps each. With this weight of, it looks like 330 pounds here, as those clips add about 5 pounds to my total itself. It's kind of funny watching these because I know I was really frustrated at the time, but I still felt like this workout was really solid. I understand it's going to be frustrating a lot going forward, and that's just because, again, I want to get better, and ideally I would like it to happen a lot quicker. Here you can see I'm really trying to focus on pushing my glutes and hips through. So after I did those, I moved on to some more higher rep exercises, and this is my first time doing what's known as a snatch grip deadlift. I kind of went with a little bit narrow of a grip here, even though it is wider. So for this, what I found was doing this style of deadlift actually helped me push my hips through, because it forced me to push my hips back because I'm lower to the ground here. So I did 3 sets of 10 reps here, and this weight that you're looking at is 230 pounds. Now, all today, throughout all these working sets, my rest times were very minimal because, again, I was working on being explosive, and as part of that, I didn't really want to take a lot of long breaks between the weights here. Again, these weights themselves aren't overly heavy for me. I'm trying to work more on form, so it wasn't really too bad, but it was a really solid workout, as I'm real tired at the time of me actually kind of recording this commentary. Now, for the second set, I did try to go a little bit wider here. Again, this is my first time doing it, and I really liked it. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, although grip strength here is a big thing, only because for these kind of pulls, you can't really do an over-underhand grip because it would be really freaking awkward. You can kind of see me shake my hand out there. So try to get a different angle on this lat set as well. Again, doing reps of 10. One of the things with the cube method, besides your main lift, whatever it is for the day, and your assistance work, what you'll find is a lot of the assistance work lends more towards bodybuilding style reps because you're trying to improve, and the repetitions there really help. So after I finished this up, the next thing I wanted to do was work on squats, and I'll kind of get more into the cube method in general. One of the things that I kind of hate about it is the fact that it's really up to you what you do, but at the same time, that's kind of tough for me because I'm the type that typically likes specific things to know. So for this, I'm doing a high bar squat. I'm working more on kind of speed here, so you don't see me really resting too much in between. I have a narrow stance in this case. I would consider this more an Olympic style squat. For this, you can also see I'm getting below parallel, just really working on kind of repping these out. I do have my knee sleeves on in this case. I did also try to get a little bit different of an angle so you guys could see here. Now again, at this point, I've already done something like 15 sets of deadlifts, so these squats were pretty tough, but again, still felt good. So I'm trying to improve upon some of my problem areas here, and again, that's one of the big things the cube is really all about. So another interesting thing about today is the fact that this is later in the afternoon. It's about 5:45 almost in the evening. I actually wasn't going to go to the gym at all today, only because this morning I had some car issues that I needed to get taken care of, and that took me most of the day. It also cost me a hell of a lot of money, so kind of pissed off about that, but I was just going to call it a wash and do these tomorrow. But I decided, you know what, I wanted to come in and do work, and I'm glad I did, because as I've already mentioned, I had a very fun time doing this, and I felt like it was very productive. So here's my last set of squats. Again, narrower stance than I used to use, using just high, fast repetitions on here because the explosiveness day felt pretty good. That's going to lead me into the last exercise for the day, and this is the stiff-legged deadlift, and this is probably one of my favorite exercises in general, and more specifically for the lower body, but in general, I love this exercise. I've mentioned how a lot of the things that I'm doing today is kind of going to help translate into better lifts on my bigger compounds, and that's true for this as well, but it's also going to help in the bedroom, because if your girl's trying to get away, you just grab her, thrust your hips through, bam, gotcha. Oh wait, you're trying to get away again? Nope, bam, gotcha. So as you can see here, I'm trying to really push my glutes back and then power through with my hips. Again, hopefully this is going to help address some of the issues that I've already mentioned that I can point out on my deadlift itself. I don't know, again, if it's lack of mobility or I'm just not used to activating these muscles because of my height, the way I typically do things mechanically, but it's something I really want to work on. Not to mention, this really just hammers the hell out of my hamstrings, as I mentioned. So I finished with 3 sets of stiff-legged deadlifts using 230 pounds for 8 reps each. And as I've already said, and I've said that a lot already, using these high reps on some of this assistance work. So that was my workout for the day. I got chest tomorrow. I'm going to try to film it, no promises, but you guys will more than likely see something from me on that. In the meantime, Thanks for watching, and as always, stay big.